Hello, here we are, elementary jewelry project number 3, the jump ring chain project. This project is, I usually don't offer this project in our elementary jewelry because we usually are moving on to soldering and we're learning that skill, and that takes a lot of time. Since we're working at home, we're not going to be soldering unless you have soldering facilities. So instead, I'm substituting this jump ring chain project, and I think it's a great project. There are a lot of there's a lot of uses for jump rings in making jewelry. So we make jump rings to hold different parts together. We can make jump rings to make chains. We can make jump rings for various connections. Learning how to work with these objects in your jewelry designs is very valuable and definitely worthy of a whole project like we're going to take for this project. We're going to have 2 weeks to work on our jump ring chains, and I think it'll be time well spent to really learn all about jump rings, what they can do, and how you can use those in your designs. Jump ring chains can range from very simple, consistent chains that hold something to incredibly complex objects with lots of variety. And these jump ring chains can be light and delicate. They can be heavy and bulky. They can be loose. They can be tight. They can be complex. They can be simple. I think these jump ring chains are a lot of fun, and they're some of my favorite jewelry is made this way. For this project, you will be creating 2 jump ring chains that will go with your 2 pierced pendants you created in project 2. So the way I originally thought of this project is you make your pendants and then you design a chain to go with that. But as I was working on doing some demonstration pieces, I have come to realize that a lot of times these chains can really stand alone, and you might start working on your chain and come up with an idea that's maybe even better, and maybe it doesn't go with your pierced pendant. And I think that's fine. If you want to make a piece that stands on its own as your jump ring chain, please do. And if it's a necklace, that's fine. If it's a bracelet, that's fine. If it's something else, I'm good with that as well. We just want to make sure we make 2 pieces using jump rings. All right, so for this project, let me cover the tools and materials we will be using. So first of all, as far as materials, we're going to be using wire. In your jewelry kit, we supplied some wire for this project. This wire is probably not enough to make your jump ring chains as well as go on and complete the rest of our projects. We want to save back some of the thicker wire, the 18, 16 gauge wire for our riveting projects that come later. So make sure you save at least, I would say, I don't know, most of our kits have the copper, nickel, and the brass longer wire. I would save back at least 4 inches of each of these for you to use in your projects for riveting. The rest of the wire is thinner, and that works good for these chains. But probably what I would suggest you do is you guys go ahead and experiment with the wire that's in your kit. Figure out what you want, what you like, what could make a good piece, and then probably go out and purchase or find some other wire that you can use to complete your project. On Canvas, I've got a list of a number of places you can get wire, but you can go to the art supply stores, you can go to the home supply stores, you can go to hardware stores. There are stores around town that deal with like jewelry and beading. They have a lot of wire. You can also go online and order wire of various types. since we will not be soldering these pieces, you can use almost any type of wire. We're going to bend our jump rings around and they're going to meet and they're not going to be soldered. You can use galvanized wire. You can use almost anything. So I think that's an exciting thing. So that's your material. As far as tools go, of course, the first thing we're gonna always remember is to wear our safety glasses when we're cutting and we're working with our pliers and wire. Stuff can jump up and get you in the eye. Blind visual artists are not very effective, so we want to protect our eyes at all costs. We are going to be using a variety of our pliers that we have in our jewelry kit. These pliers are going to be used for potentially cutting wire, for bending our wire. So we're going to use our pliers. We are going to use our favorite tool, the jewelry saw. We're going to be cutting with this. We're going to have our bench hook, which we're going to use for cutting and bending. Potentially, we're going to use our bench block, our little anvil that we can pound out some of the wire if we choose to do that. And then what I like you guys to do is look around and find various objects that you could use for bending your wire around. So if I want to make round jump rings, here I've got a piece of aluminum rod that I had laying around, a 1/2 inch piece. Here I've got a punch that's got a round end. It's about 1/4 inch. Here's another round dowel that's about 1/4 inch. Here's a big nail I had laying around. You could use pencils. We're gonna, you can also use square or rectangular objects to bend your wire around, create the shapes. And you can also bend your pieces sort of free form. Those are going to be the tools that we're going to use to create our pieces for this project. All right, so let me cover how this will work for you. Jump rings traditionally are created by bending wire around a shape, coiling it several times around that shape, and then cutting down one side of the coil. This cut will create one jump ring per coil. The jump rings can be various shapes. They can be round, square, triangular. Can be created, again, like I mentioned, with metal rods, wood dowels, metal pipes, pens, pencils. There are also commercially available mandrels that are various sizes if you want to get really precise with your jump rings. We will be using what you can find around your house or what you may want to purchase to coil your wire on. Again, like I mentioned, you may also just use your pliers and bend these jump rings sort of free form, and I think that can be a lot of fun, and some of my favorite jewelry is created that way. Also, you can take your jump rings and use your hammer to texture and to flatten these rings, and that can be a great a great way of adding variety to these materials. So basically you form your ring, you form this coil of rings, and then you have to cut it. Probably the most accurate and best way to cut your jump rings is using your jewelry saw. And you will, if you're working on, say, a wooden dowel, you would, wrap your rings, then move it up towards the end, and again, cut down the edge of that coil, and you'll get a single ring. This will give you a flat surface on either side of the ring, and that looks very good when you put it together. And when if we had available soldering, lots of jewelry has soldered jump rings, so the jump ring doesn't open. That flat cut works very well for soldering those jump rings together. Sometimes people will overlap their jump rings. You can also cut your jump rings using your pliers. Your pliers can make a decent cut, but it's always beveled a little bit, and so it doesn't always line up perfectly. As you will see as you begin to experiment, and that's what I want you to do. I want you guys to take some of the wire in the kit, maybe find some other wire that may be around, and experiment with making some jump rings and putting them together and see what they look like. And basically come up with an idea for a chain. And I think the experimentation is incredibly important. That's how you're going to really figure out what you can do and what you like. And and it's a lot of fun as well. So your variances or the design elements you're working with are the thickness of the metal, the type of metal, which lends itself to different colors, different sheens, the size of the jump ring, the shape of the jump ring, whether you loop the jump ring around twice before you cut it, or if it's a single jump ring. There is an issue with structure in jump rings. Larger jump rings will require thicker wire to remain closed than smaller jump rings. And you'll see this as you begin to experiment. If you're working with your chain and that jump ring just pops open with very little pressure on it, you'll know you probably need a thicker wire or a tighter jump ring. So again, experiment, see what you can do visually. We're going to have you guys also, research jump ring chains and find what you find interesting and figure out what you really like in these jump rings. And then, you're going to put your piece together. There are no rules for how you create these chains. Experiment, be creative, and have fun. And put these jump ring chains together. And again, we're going to photograph these pieces. We're going to share them with the class in the discussion. And then you're going to turn them into the class. A few other technical things. There is a sort of a right and a wrong way to open a jump ring. So jump rings are opened by grabbing the jump ring on either side and turning the sides of the jump ring opposite directions to twist the jump ring open. You don't want to pull the jump ring open from the end because it's really hard to get it back together and you ruin the shape of the jump ring. You're going to want to put that back together and use that particular technique to put the piece to open the jump rings and put them back together. I've included on Canvas some other videos by other people instructing you on how to create jump ring. Please watch these. Again, go on the internet and look at other people's, great art. One of my favorite artists, and this is an artist whom I know from Lincoln, Nebraska, and she retired in 2018. Her name was Sydney Lynch. She made the most beautiful art chains, jump ring chains with various sizes, and she put stones and she used precious metals, and they were just really works of art and beautiful pieces. Look up some of her work. I've got some other artists listed on Canvas you guys can check out. Again, this go and again, there's no rules. Have fun, put together your chains, experiment, be creative, and if you have any questions along the way, please contact me.